The girl was tortured by her mother and covered in blood. Because her dance moves were not standard, she tried to standardize her movements, but her mother was still not satisfied. She pulled her hands away and forced her to lower her body. The girl's body was no longer conscious. The mother then stepped on her back with her foot. No matter how much pain the girl was in, the mother did not let go of her foot, until the girl's spine was broken and she fell motionless on the ground. Only then did the mother call out to her in worry. Catherine, the little girl next to her, watched the whole process. She was so scared that she didn't dare to run. But instead of killing her, the mother let her live to this day. Today Catherine is a nurse practitioner. She's bringing a new person to work with her. Her name is Lucy, and she was born with ophthalmia. Although the first patient she took on was difficult, she managed to get through it easily. Catherine was so pleased with her performance that she took her to see several patients. But the last one didn't let her in. She didn't even make up a reason and just took her things and left. Lucy couldn't wait any longer for Catherine to come out. She ran in to find Catherine herself. The villa in front of her looked a bit old. The door was tangled with vines, and the interior was in a state of disrepair. If it weren't for the new look on the outside, it wouldn't really look like a place to live. When she pushed open the door, she saw a very sick old man. Catherine didn't get angry when she saw Lucy come in. Instead, she praised her for doing the right thing. Catherine took this opportunity to introduce the old man in bed to her. The old man is a dance instructor, very strict. Many students from abroad came to study here, but that was a long time ago. Now the old man was in a coma. Lucy noticed that the old man's foretube was filled with blood. Her nails were horrible, like they hadn't been cut in 800 years. Lucy tries to cut her nails, but Catherine finds a reason to fool her. She wondered why the old man didn't go to the hospital. Catherine said the old man had no family. Her only daughter was born mute and died a long time ago. Her only wish was to die at home. Lucy has nothing to say, but Catherine suddenly told Lucy that the old man had a treasure. She had tried all the keys in the room and they didn't match. Lucy noticed that the old man had a strange key around his neck, but she didn't say anything. She packed up with Catherine and left for work. Sending Lucy away, Catherine stared at her for a long time, driving ready to go to the next place. The girl in front of her thought she was in the way, so she turned around and looked at the car. She was kidnapped and killed by Catherine. A pool full of blood, with blood bags hanging on the wall. That was the blood that had just been drawn from the girl's body. And Lucy didn't know any of this. She was having drinks with her boyfriend at the bar and telling him about the day's events. But he was focused on the treasure. He was unhappy with his life and wanted the treasure for himself. Lucy is stunned by these words. An old woman who was in a coma and could die at any time, and her boyfriend wanted to take it too. In order to convince his girlfriend, he started to use a bitter trick. He even involved his friend next to him. Lucy didn't want to answer and left with her things. The boyfriend was not satisfied and went after Lucy and poked her with words. He said that after her mother's death, her family was having financial problems. Why not take this opportunity to improve the situation? Lucy's heart was broken by this comment, and she directly revealed her boyfriend's true feelings. She said that he had been in jail. The boyfriend felt humiliated and left in a huff. Lucy came home and heard her father talking to her lover on the phone. She had a lot of mixed feelings. Mom had only been dead for 8 months and Dad had already found a new lover. He also said that the woman wanted to live in the house. Lucy thought it was unbelievable. After her father left, she saw her mother's face before she died. After thinking about it, she decided to agree to her boyfriend's request. This girl was made into a spinning octet by her mother. Whenever the music started, she would spin with it. The music was so loud that William was afraid of alerting the owner of the house. A punch breaks the doll's bones. The music box was damaged and the house made a strange creaking sound. Several people look around in fear, fearing that the house is haunted. The men are here to steal the treasure. Even though the owner of the house was a comatose old lady, they didn't dare to scare the snake. When they came in through the window, the environment inside the house was very eerie and scary. Lucy had a bad feeling. She wanted to leave, but her boyfriend William said, if she leaves, she doesn't want the treasure by default. They searched around. One accidentally saw a taxidermy animal in the house. Scared little heart fluttered violently. Because they are too realistic. Change the house search, they saw a realistic version of the animal tea party. William wanted to take a closer look, but the catfish in front of them suddenly turned around and gave them a direct impact. This is not a place to stay, but there is only one door left to open. It was hard to get up the courage to open the door, but it was locked. Lucy thinks of the key on the old lady's chest and immediately takes the two of them to steal it. The old lady was unconscious, so it was easy for them to get it. But the key was wrong, and the door wouldn't open. The friends opened the door by brute force, but there was no treasure inside. There was only a person with a veil. William lifted the veil and found a corpse. Lucy guessed it was the old lady's daughter. Insert the key into the hole underneath and music starts to play. The corpse in front of him started to spin and William kicked her over. A few people are about to leave this unsettling place. When they returned, they found that the window they had entered was locked. Lucy remembered that there was an unlocked window in the old lady's room, so she took them there. The old lady was gone, and the window was locked. The friend was attracted by the mirror next to him. He stretched out his hand, and the old lady's figure suddenly appeared in the mirror. Then he disappeared. When he opened his eyes again, he appeared in an unknown room. There was no way to escape from here without a door. Looking around, he saw a glass jar with a child specimen in it. Then some girls in veils suddenly appeared. They slit the man's throat and then beat him to death with sticks. On the other hand, Lucy and Ben could not find their friends, so they continued to look for an exit. Ben insisted on breaking the window, while Lucy went to another room. Accidentally touching something, the animals next to her turned to her. Then the old lady appeared. She extended her hands to Lucy. Lucy was born with special pupils, and once she touched the old lady's hands, she saw her past. It turned out that the old woman and her daughter were vampires. The mother cut her daughter's back open and put gears inside. She also sewed her eyes shut and made them into a doll, so that the girl would always be with her. After Lucy saw this, the old lady disappeared. At that moment, her boyfriend's voice came from outside the door, asking for help. But the door was locked, and she couldn't get out. The friend who disappeared for a long time outside the door suddenly appeared. He was covered in blood and tried to kill William. Fortunately, William grabbed the scissors behind him and got the upper hand. In order to live, William killed his friend. Before the grief is over, an old vampire lady appears behind him. When he wasn't looking, she bit him on the head. Blood gushed out and William fell to the ground. The old woman fell on top of William and drank all his blood. Lucy sees the old lady's daughter again. This time without the key, the doll began to dance. She stepped off the music box and danced around Lucy. When Lucy was unprepared, she grabbed her by the neck. Lucy knocked her out with a punch. Just after she stood up, Catherine appeared. Without saying a word, she punched Lucy. Lucy opened her eyes again and was lying on a table. The old lady was ready to give her daughter a new soul. She pushed out her daughter, then cut Lucy's stomach and inserted a chrysalis. Then she also put a chrysalis inside her daughter's body. She stapled Lucy's eyes, leaving only one eye. But Lucy suddenly saw her mother. After a moment of pain, the moth flew out of Lucy's mouth. One moth also flies out of the daughter's mouth. The two moths exchanged and flew into each other's body. In this way, their souls were successfully swapped. Lucy woke up and her pupils were gone. But her own soul was still inside her body. Because the pupil has two souls. One is her own and the other is her mother's. The old lady didn't know and ordered Lucy to dance. Catherine saw her disobedience, so she came up to teach her a lesson. But Lucy killed her in return. After killing one, the old lady was next. When she was no longer alive, Lucy went to find the girl. She used her own blood to save the girl. They planned to leave this place. But the old lady didn't die at all. She suddenly grabbed Lucy, and Lucy couldn't get free. The girl rushed to find scissors and stuck them into the old lady's body without hesitation. The old lady fell downstairs and died completely. When they left the villa, they found that it was surrounded by a dark atmosphere. There is no way to get out at night. So the two rested here for the night. They left early the next morning. Standing on the high ground, the girl jumped down without hesitation. Her mission was complete, and it was time to leave this place. The expected blood did not appear. She flew to the sky. As a mother, she protected her daughter at the critical moment. It is also the completion of the wish. This is the end of the movie. The movie is called Livide and was released in 2011. What do you think about this movie? Feel free to comment. If you like my video, please click a subscribe. Thanks.